What is up, everyone? Welcome to L2R2, a PlayStation podcast. My name's Fonzie. I'm joined by my co-host, the indie game dev and UK bro from another mum, Callum Monroe. Callum, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. We've both got past our computer problems, so we're ready to go.
Yeah, computers suck. Like, why do we use them? I'm tired.
I have no idea.
I'm tired of it.
Yeah.
And then with PC gaming too, I've been playing a lot of my games on my PC lately, and man, I hate it. Like, it's just, I love how my PS5 just works. My PS4 just works most of the time, and God, I'm just ready to throw this whatever $2,000 machine in the garbage. But other than that, Callum, how you been? You got your PS5 now.
Yeah.
How does it feel to be in the future, to be on this side of everything?
Yeah, it feels great. I'm really impressed with it. Having a lot of fun. And yeah, I'm trying to sort of take it a game at a time because you don't really realize that, you know, the way it shows you your PS4 collection is very easy to get lost in your backlog and try out all these games and see how they run. So I've been trying to keep to at least maybe one or two games on the PS5 and then a game on my PC at a time, just to try and not overwhelm myself. But yeah, I've been really enjoying it. I platinumed Astro's Playroom and Miles Morales, and I've been playing a lot of Assassin's Creed Valhalla as well. So been loving life.
Now, walk me through Astro's Playroom, because that's it's baked in, it's in the system itself when you get it. I just came around to finishing it after you were playing it this week, because I kind of dabbled into it and then I jumped straight into Miles. And man, that game is so special. Just all the nods to PlayStation. I'm smiling the whole time. It's just like cute as hell, and all the Easter eggs. What'd you think about it?
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was it just felt like a classic adventure game, you know, like your old Jak and Daxter games or Ratchet and Clank, or it was just excellent. I thought, it was a great way to show off the tech, but also it was, like you said, really charming in itself. Really great design as well, and just collecting like the artifacts and looking at them, and it was just a really nice experience. And yeah, I loved it. In fact, because I got Miles Morales around the same time, and I remember I started that whilst I was still, halfway through Playroom or whatever. And I actually stopped playing Spiderman because I wanted to go back and finish Playroom just because I loved it that much. And it was really great game, and nice and short as well. I think it took me like 4 hours to do everything on it, which is a good length of time for what is essentially a way to celebrate PlayStation and just show off the controller and the new visuals and just how everything works.
Yeah, no, same here. I mean, it's pretty nuts how they have nailed the use of the DualSense, like maybe more so than any other launch games have done it, where they really are showing off the potential with that controller, with the audio, with the haptic feedback and the triggers, where there's not a lot of games that are really pushing it right now. And granted, it's we just launched the console, so not everyone has had a lot of time to play with it, but so far Astro has shown off how awesome that controller is for me.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, Miles Morales as well has it with the. I think actually with Miles Morales it's a little bit lazier because I think it's the triggers are just always just have resistance on them, even in cutscenes and things. But it's still nice that it's there, and you do definitely forget about it. I haven't played games like Call of Duty or whatever other games that have the triggers a bit more like tied into a lot of the moments, but it feels nice in Miles Morales as well. And then the parts like with the gacha machine where you've got to like squeeze the balls in Playroom. In fact, when I first did that, I was like pressing the trigger and nothing was happening. I didn't understand what was happening. And then same. You really have to push really hard to do it. So it's really cool. It's just exciting because it just shows you what the controller is capable of. It doesn't mean that there's going to be loads and loads of games that does all of this, but it's just cool to know that these options are there, and I can see it really catching on. And I think it'll even be more effective in more subtle ways as well. I think if it was to constantly be factored into every single design choice, it would probably get a little bit obnoxious eventually. But I think it just that Playroom being a tech demo for it, and it just shows how impressive it actually is.
Yeah, and I keep thinking while I'm playing the game how much I didn't realize I love Astro as as a PlayStation property, as an icon, as as a mascot. Now he's just solidified in my mind as PlayStation. And while I'm playing, I'm like, do I need to get a Astro tattoo because I love this guy? And I think this has been the perfect like vehicle to kind of get you through all this PlayStation history, and the way all the little bots are reenacting like various PlayStation moments in games. Man, they just nailed it. And he's, in my mind, like he's now the PlayStation mascot, and I want them to go full force with Astro being the guy. Like before, I guess you could say with their own properties, they could have leaned on Crash and whatnot. Now they can't. They don't have the rights to a lot of those iconic characters, but Astro's able to do that by just, the way they basically cosplay as all these different characters, and it just fits really well.
Yeah, it reminds me of like Little Big Planet or something, and it's a really great series to have. And maybe they didn't know it was going to be this successful, because obviously there was the VR Astro Mission game as well, which I remember absolutely loving then and being really impressed by it when I didn't expect to be. But obviously this is to a wider audience, has a lot more attention put into it. And yeah, I mean, with, like you're saying, all the moments they've put in, it's just top to bottom, just has so much care and love put into it. It's one of those games that you just can't think of anything negative to say about it. It was just every single thing was done exactly how it was supposed to be done, and it's just really, really fun to play.
Yeah, and I was surprised how fun the gameplay is. Like you think, okay, maybe it's a tech demo, it's just kind of showing off stuff, but really the actual platforming is really fun. The mini boss battles are really cool, and there's moments that are challenging too, where I was actually surprised just how fun the game is. And I would really love to see this team take some time and make like a full-blown platformer. I know that they had high acclaim for Astro's Playroom, or for the Astro-Bot, I want to say the rescue in VR, but I just never played it, and so I'd love to see them just go full platformer for this. Yeah,
I think that it's a great, again, it's just something to look forward to, because there's clearly a lot of talent there, and you never know what could be next for them.
Nice. So you jumped in there. We love Astro. What were you thinking about Miles?
Yeah, I really liked it. I think when you compare it to other like standalone expansions like Lost Legacy or Wolfenstein: The Old Blood, I don't think it's quite as good as them. I think that these kind of experiences are quite unique in the fact that they allow the developers to refine everything that was, not bad, but maybe the things that could have been done better in the original game. And I just think that none of that was done. I thought everything played exactly the same, to the point where even the things I didn't like about the original were still there, like the really, really awkward, like sort of just controls and movement when you're not moving fast. I thought the combat was fun, but again, just not, there's not a lot to it. And like, for example, like your gadgets and things, you're just never forced to use all your arsenal. And I played through it the first time, barely even using the camouflage, until I sort of started doing the bases and things. And I get that, I could have just done that myself, but I feel like if you're going to give the player all these things, you need to kind of design the game to force you to use them. Otherwise, they're just forgotten about. But I thought the story and the characters were amazing. I loved Miles. I actually preferred him to Peter Parker, and I thought the characters were amazing. I thought the moments between them were all really, really good. And I thought the story was solid. And I mean, the visuals are just incredible as well. Really, really good. I think that the one thing that I probably found it did improve on were like the slower bits. When you're playing as Miles, I think that they were actually a lot more engaging and a lot more fun. I think mostly down to the PS5 being able to have all these like nice, like the guy at the market playing music and sort of all these things. I thought that they were done pretty well, but yeah, I did really like it. I just I thought it maybe could have been a bit more refined in the gameplay department, but other than that, it was great, and a solid little game, and nice to sort of go back to that little world.
Yeah, I think your criticisms are fair. There is a lot of basically the same stuff from 2018 Spider-Man carried over. Was it 2018, 2016, something like that? It doesn't feel like that long ago.
Yeah, 2018, I think, yeah.
But so it is the same kind of core gameplay crossed over. Miles does have his new abilities, which I think as I've gone back and played the remastered version, I like his abilities more. Like with the is it the Venom attacks? I rely on those more in Miles, and then when I don't have them in the remastered, I'm kind of left
Yeah.
wanting that. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's, same here. I really dug. I think we're opposite. I mentioned on Twitter where I
Yeah.
dug the combat more than the story, but
Mhm.
still, awesome game. I can't wait for them to. You're right, refine the gameplay, change some of the stuff up, and then just kick everyone's ass with the next one. Which
Yeah.
you have to imagine they're hard at work with like a full blown sequel. I wonder how
Yeah.
they handle now two Spider-Mans, in the same
Mm.
world. Do they just piggyback off of each other in like the missions in the sequel, or do they go, actual co-op? Like, I wonder how they change this up. But this is traditionally like a
Yeah.
single player game. But I wonder how they're
Yeah.
gonna tackle that sequel.
I think they've got to go with Miles, just all in with Miles, because I just felt, personally anyway, I just felt that now Peter is shown as the mentor. I think that sort of dynamic just works so well, and I just love Miles, and I think his relationship with Genki and his mum, and of course his uncle as well, which could still be explored more. I just think that it's so much. It's a lot richer. It's a story that a lot of us aren't as familiar with, and I think having Peter, as this, famous sort of like person to rely on, sort of resonates with the player as well as it does with Miles as well. So I think it's quite an effective dynamic personally, but yeah, I think, like you said, it is an interesting topic because they do now have these two, colossal characters, and they're going to have to try and tether that somehow.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. But yeah, a great game to launch. This whole launch window has been really awesome for really, I think mainly for PlayStation, with the games we're able to offer exclusively. With Miles, you have Demon Souls,
Yeah.
and then it kind of splinters off. But yeah, just a solid freaking lineup. So I'm
Yeah.
stoked. And then so you beat Miles, platinum it, and you moved on to Assassin's Creed Valhalla. What are you thinking about that?
Yes. I absolutely love it. I've it's been I took a while for me to get it, so I've been seeing other people talking about it. I've seen sort of mixed things, and mostly positive things, but a lot of mixed things, and I just think it's just such a clever change to sort of the formula of the past three games. They've really tightened up the progression system, made it so much less grindy. There's not even any the side quests are now instead sort of little like fun like random occurrences. So like for example, you meet some old guy who is able to knock everyone out in one punch, and he's really upset because he just wants to live a normal life, and he doesn't want to just one punch everyone anymore. So you have to try and fight him and beat him. It's really like goofy in a lot of places, and but it just makes it so much more fun, so much less repetitive, because every sort of bit is genuinely different from a narrative standpoint, from a gameplay standpoint, and there's still a lot to do, but it's been narrowed down and simplified so much that it's just so much less, scary and sort of daunting to look at, especially when you look at the map. So yeah, I'm absolutely loving it, and yeah, I basically just can't wait to keep playing it. I really, really, it's got its hooks in me big time, and the game is beautiful, and the performance as well of the male character from an actor called Magnus Bronn, who's in The Last Kingdom. I don't know if you've seen that, but
Oh, right.
that is a standout performance from all the Assassin's Creed games, I think, and I think Assassin's Creed's always been sort of known to have kind of poor voice acting and performances for their main characters, but this Magnus Brunn as the male Ivor is absolutely brilliant. So yeah, it's a real improvement for me personally over the other two, and it's actually the most fun I've had with Assassin's Creed since the second one. So yeah, I'm really, really impressed with it, and I'm absolutely loving the time with it.
Now, what are you thinking? I've heard some criticisms, and you brought this up on Twitter as well, with the parkour. Did they kind of move backwards with that? Or is there just less, geometry, less interesting stuff to traverse on top of? How are they handling that?
So it's gonna sound really weird now, but yeah, the parkour is just terrible. Like but I mean, this is testament to how good the rest of the game is. But it's so I'm not sure. I mean, I think I'm starting to find a way to make it do what I want it to do. But in the old Assassin's Creed, it was always you just hold down a button and it would just parkour down a really intricately set path through like these narrow streets and things. But I think as the game's got more and more open, these like really intricate paths where you can parkour are no longer there. So the game has to do a lot more calculating behind the scenes as to where you mean to be going and things like that. It's kind of like making a pass in a sports game. You'll point the analog towards something, but the game might think you're pointing towards something just next to it, if you know what I'm saying.
I see.
So yeah, it's very irritating. But the reason why I didn't really bring it up just then is because you only really encounter those problems when you're doing a couple of like challenges that require you to like chase like a piece of paper or something like that. So it's nothing like game breaking, but it is quite sort of worrying that they've managed to go from, amazing parkour in the really old Assassin's Creed games to something that just doesn't work and is quite immersion breaking at times.
I'm curious, with a lot of the games I played on PS5, they've been exclusive so far with Miles and Astro. How is Assassin's Creed handling the loading? Is it's a cross platform game, so is it still taking advantage of like really fast loading, or how does it? How do you think it fares there?
I mean, it's because I was playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey on my PC, as you know, and it's probably similar loading to that. So you still have a loading screen, but it's still noticeably fast. Like you barely have time to read like a hint or two on the screen. And I don't know if you know as well, but in Assassin's Creed, you sort of get to run around in the loading screen. So really? Kind of just helps you burn that time even quicker. The loading time's definitely better, but yeah, they're not quite as profound as the exclusive games, but still better. And I mean, for multi-platform games, the game looks just beautiful as well, and it runs really well on performance mode. In fact, I didn't even notice any differences between performance and quality, except for the lower FPS and quality. So, been loving that. The only thing I'll probably say about the visuals are the colors when HDR's turned on are a little bit washed out. It doesn't seem that the game quite mixes with HDR that well. So, but I mean, thanks to how quick the PS5 UI is, you can turn it off within a few seconds, and that sort of fixes everything up. So, but yeah, it's great. It's a brilliant game, and I'm really glad that I ended up getting it and sinking my teeth into it.
Nice. You say, do you think you have quite a bit of a ways to get through as far as like traversing through the story and the campaign? I imagine you have a lot of hours still left to finish this game.
Yeah, I think I'm about 20 hours in, and I probably am barely a quarter of the way through, I imagine. It's ditched sort of like levels now, so instead has like a massive skill tree, where each node you sort of spend a skill point on is a level. And I think there's about 400 levels to go through. So basically every skill point is one level pretty much. So there's 400 skill points you can get. And I'm at power level like 70 something. So there's still so many territories I can't even go to because they've got recommended power levels of like 180 or 200. But it's a really nice way of directing you. It doesn't seem to be there for reasons for you to grind. It's literally just to not overwhelm you because the map is massive. There's lots to do, lots to see. The story is really cool. And just the new structure where they've just got rid of the repetitive tasks and really gone for like a character-driven story is really, really good.
That's awesome. It's great to see this franchise just like turn it around with, and this is what the third one where they've really changed what they focus on and the kind of the gone back to the map and made Assassin's Creed fun again. And I love that they're able to turn this around. And it's always been a huge franchise, but now it kind of deserves the same like respect with the actual, the gameplay loop is matching how big that franchise is now. So it's awesome to see that.
Yeah, and I mean, I see a lot of criticism about this one and the other two as well. From people who really like the old style of Assassin's Creed games. I mean, I get that they were getting repetitive, but there's a lot to love about the more, like I was saying then, the smaller focus but ultra designed sort of streets that allow you to do parkour and all these kind of things, and the bigger focus on the Brotherhood as well, which does make a return to Valhalla in quite a satisfying way as well. But I do understand the disappointment from long-time series fans with the with the new 3, but I'm finding the Valhalla just so much fun that I can't really find a reason to criticize it. So yeah, it's good stuff.
That's awesome. As far as back to just your PS5 in general, any performance issues? I know when I got it, right at launch, I was able to receive it, and it crashed a couple times with Miles. Hard reset one time. Any malfunctions? I know at this point we've had maybe like 3 updates now for the PS5. So any performance stuff going on?
Just Miles Morales crashing my PS5 a few times. I had once where I had to turn it off at the button, and yeah, I think most of my problems came with Miles Morales. I mean, there was a few moments in Miles where the camera wouldn't move properly. It would like sort of just move on its own and not let me do anything for a couple of moments. And yeah, I think Miles was probably the game that gave me the most amount of performance issues. But luckily, Astros and Assassin's Creed have both been perfect for me so far. And yeah, the machine itself is just a joy to use. I'm still getting used to the holding the PS button and the pressing the PS button to get different options and just where everything is and everything. But it's kind of weird because when I'd use my PS4, I'd always not ever want to go on the dashboard because of how slow it was. And now I still have that feeling on my PS5, like, I want to see who's online or I want to check the store. But I'm always like, oh, no, because I'm playing this game and it will take ages. When really you literally press the PS button and you're already there. So it's so fast that it takes getting used to. But yeah, no, I'm loving it. I think as a games console, we joke about PCs, and obviously I still love playing on my PC, and the graphics are obviously potentially better on PC and everything still, but just as something to just work like it does, the PS5, and for the price, is just amazing. And playing Miles Morales in 4K ray tracing and Assassin's Creed as well looks just absolutely beautiful. It's I just don't. There's just no reason to put these consoles, down or aside, because they are just completely impressive bits of kit.
You know what? I had this small gripe. I was used to with the PS4 holding the PlayStation button on the controller on the DualShock to go to the option to just like put it into standby mode.
Yeah.
And now they make me press it once and then you have to slide over and then hit it there. And it's a small thing that just annoys me. It shouldn't, but I'm just used to that ease of, holding it and basically you're one button away. But I
think that's what it is. I think it's that muscle memory kind of thing. And if you remember as well, on PS4, that holding down PS button to get that sort of side menu, that wasn't on the PS4 for the whole time. It wasn't originally. So hopefully they'll, well, I just don't say hopefully, but I mean, we're the ones testing this UI. I think they'll get all this feedback and hopefully touch things up, because like they have been known to do that with the PS4, and hopefully this faster OS allows them to have even more customization on it. Because I've noticed the PS Store as well is very bare at the moment. You can't find like themes or avatars or films or anything. So I think there's still a lot to. It does seem a bit bare bones at the moment, and I imagine that will be rectified. But yeah, overall, there's not a huge amount I can complain about.
Nice, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm glad you finally got your console. You're in the future now.
Yeah,
you're not just a poor bum in the corner. You got your PS5. Callum, so we had a bunch of stuff happening. Really the big takeaway, a couple of them were the Game Awards. We got some big announcements and awards. We could go and break down each little announcement here. I pulled up some of the major ones, especially this first one here. I know you're a huge Dragon Age fan. You've been making your way through the franchise. We got a Dragon Age 4, not gameplay, but another teaser trailer. I was a bit shocked. I thought we were going to finally see gameplay. I know they showed this off last year, like the concept and stuff. But what do you think about seeing that trailer?
Yeah, it's very exciting. I mean, it's really good timing because, like you said, I've loved Dragon Age and I've played the first two many times before. But this is the first time I've really been going through Inquisition. So unfortunately, the trailer did spoil Inquisition for me, but I'm not one to really mind that much about spoilers.
We talked about that, like the what if.
Yeah, I was, I think it looks great, and to be honest, it spoiling what happens in Inquisition's kind of made me even more excited to see it happen in Inquisition, because I'm really loving the story in that. Really just loving Inquisition in general. So yeah, I've got high hopes for the next Dragon Age game. You know, I'm hoping this BioWare and EA partnership has kind of bedded in a bit better, and EA have hopefully learnt from their mistakes, a bit like Ubisoft have shown they have. And that, you know, they're going to let BioWare do what they do best. And it's been a while since the Dragon Age game's come out, so they've had a lot of time to sit on this and stew on it. And yeah, I'm very excited to see what it's going to look like.
Do you think was it nuts to expect gameplay? I know I was kind of expecting that, and not just a CG trailer, but how do you feel about what they've shown, and when do you expect us to see actual gameplay?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I expected at least some in-game stuff, like some in-game, even if it's in-game cinematics and maybe like a really polished vertical slice of the game. But yeah, I really don't know. I don't know how far along it is. I don't know, because they haven't really talked about. I know it was announced 2 years ago at the Game Awards again, but yeah, I don't know. I think looking back on it in hindsight, it was a good trailer. It basically confirmed what everyone thought, which was that, you know, we're not going to be playing as the Inquisitor from Inquisition. There's going to be a whole new character. The return of the antagonist who's from Inquisition, and Varric as well, the guy narrating the trailer. So I think it was a good way to just, you know, butter us up a little bit, get us to know a little bit more about it, and then hopefully they'll hit us with some gameplay at some point soon. But yeah, really excited, and just having the PS5 has made me excited as well, because I'll probably get it on PC, but I'm just excited to see you know, how having the PS5 to develop on rather than the PS4 will, you know, stop this from being held back maybe. And so yeah, I'm really, really excited to see more.
Those trophies, Callum, they're going to get you, so I'm sure you'll end up somehow
that's
playing
true,
it on
that's true.
PS5. Now, another big teaser, and they actually ended the show with this one. So we got a Mass Effect 4 teaser, even though they did announce a couple of weeks ago on N7 Day that they're working on it.
Yeah.
And now we got another CG trailer. How'd you feel about seeing this?
Yeah, I thought it was really cool. I didn't expect it at all. You know, like you said, they only announced it recently that they were working on a new game. I thought it'd be like another 2 years or so till we saw anything. But yeah, it's really cool. You've got you know, a major character from the series in that trailer, and some more sort of eagle-eyed fans had sort of spotted some characters in the background as well. So yeah, no, it's really cool, because when I finished Mass Effect 3, obviously I knew Andromeda had already come out and that they had not made any other Mass Effect games. But I remember thinking then, you know, even with Shepard gone, I thought, you know, why can't they just do what Dragon Age does and keep the same supporting cast but implement a new protagonist? Because, you know, they're made by the same company, but Dragon Age has had a different protagonist every single game and still managed to create a legend around them so that you can still hear about them when you have your own. In fact, even the protagonist of Dragon Age 2 is in Inquisition. So I don't know why they can't just do that with Mass Effect. You know, keep the same supporting cast, the same sort of overarching narrative, but just not have Shepard and have you create a new character or something. So yeah, I think it's really cool, and I'm sure that I mean, it looks like that's probably what's going to happen. But yeah, no, it's very exciting because Mass Effect is incredible, and the setting that it's in is great and deserves to be fleshed out a lot more.
Nice. Yeah, that was a big one to have at the end. I'm excited for fans for Mass Effect, because I'm sure people are loving that they're continuing the story and not going back to some kind of I think I want to say Andromeda was a prequel. It was something that was happening at least on the side of the main story or before the main story. So this is like continuing that story.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't played Andromeda, so I can't speak to it too much, but from what I know, I've heard is it was very experimental, you know, given to a different sort of team, and the story wasn't strong. I know it had some problems with its character animations and things. And so this looks like, again, it's all a learning thing, isn't it? It looks like they've learned from that, and now they're going back to what people really care about, because as much as me sitting there completing the third one, knowing what Andromeda, you know, is, it's easy for me to say, oh, it would have been cool if they had carried on with these characters, but maybe back then Andromeda seemed like a better path to go down. So yeah, it's kind of like, it's a nice redemption for both, really, because this is the first time for Dragon Age that they're not going to have any engine issues like they had with Frostbite with Inquisition, and for Mass Effect, this is their time to really redeem themselves over Andromeda. So it's a really exciting future for BioWare, and I just hope that EA don't foil it with their villainous plans.
Yeah, I'm hoping that with money lost with like Anthem, EA realizes like we can't keep putting BioWare into this formula that maybe works for all our other games. You have to give them this breadth to work on stuff and to figure stuff out. There's such a huge dev. You don't want to. You're only just setting them up to fail with these huge properties that they have if they are stuck with these. What I imagine behind the scenes, these like archaic way of putting out games and the stress of hitting these deadlines and the things they want them to do that are just don't work for BioWare. So let BioWare be BioWare.
And I hear that Dragon Age is likely to be a live service as well, which it just on paper it sounds not nice. I think live service is just one of those tainted phrases now.
Yeah.
But Dragon Age is it's set in a huge world, a huge setting. If you look at games like Final Fantasy 14 or World of Warcraft, I know they're MMOs, but they're still similarly live services that whether or not I doubt it's going to be a monthly subscription thing, but they're still things that have content constantly coming out for them year after year just to flesh out these huge worlds. So and nowadays with how games look, there's no reason for them to have to iterate onto it with Dragon Age 5 or Dragon Age 6. Why not just update it and use it as a live service in a live world? And I don't personally see that as a massive negative. I think that could be something quite interesting, as long as EA just let BioWare focus on how to make it a good game rather than trying to make it fit into their portfolio of big money grabbing marketing schemes or whatever.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Now the next one here, Callum, we got an actual date of March 2021 for House Marquee's Returnal, and we got a little CG trailer or gameplay rather. I'm very, very excited for this game, and I loved just the new clip we got of gameplay. How do you feel about what they showed off?
Yeah, I think it looks just so much fun. As you know, I love. Actually, before I say, I actually thought it was Silent Hill first.
Right, they start with that door. It's like, don't do that if you don't think we're gonna think Silent Hill.
I mean, sure. That must have been a joke or something.
Yeah,
because
a little bit.
That scene is so like irrelevant to the actual trailer itself. But no, it looks great. It looks like a over the shoulder Alienation. It just looks exactly like that, which is awesome because Alienation's great, and Housemarque are known for creating really fun gameplay loops, really fun progression systems, really fun gameplay. So I mean, yeah, there's every reason to be excited for this, and I think we've touched on it before, but it looks a lot more cinematic as well, which is something I haven't seen Housemarque do before. So be interesting to see how they tackle that. I think they've always had quite fun and good dialogue, so I don't see why not. But it'll be interesting to see how they address a more cinematic based game.
That's true. Yeah. Will we end up just skipping these cutscenes and just getting to the core gameplay? I'm fine doing that. But if they actually provide something that's decent as far as how the story goes, how the cutscenes go, that's fine. But I'm locked into the gameplay. That's what I'm coming to play this game on.
It's a great name as well. I think Return was a really cool title.
It's grown on me. There's another game that was announced that I think, man, change that name. It's a terrible name, but no, if you can get it short and sweet, memorable, that's the way to go. But yeah, very stoked for that game that was announced, or the date was announced rather, at the Game Awards. We got some other stuff here, so we can kind of skim through this. So Survival Arc, the survival game Arc announced a sequel with a story mode featuring Vin Diesel. That was a bit weird to see him there. What'd you think of that CG footage it showed off?
Honestly, I just don't even have an opinion on it. I mean, Arc's one of those games that I just don't know why it's still even talked about. I know it has a massive community, but it's been out for so long. It's just always been a really crappy just game, in my opinion. And, I mean, I don't know what it's like nowadays, but I remember back in it must have been 2013.
It's been a while, yeah.
It was just, I remember my friend used to play it all the time, and he just used to follow dinosaurs around waiting for them to poo. And so, yeah, I'm not a fan of Ark, but I know it's got a huge community, and I know that community probably love Vin Diesel. So, so yeah, good for them.
Yeah, it's a great match for him.
Yeah.
I was telling Gavin, if you were to predict or read on paper, yeah, the Game Awards are going to announce Arc campaign mode starring Vin Diesel. Like on paper, those words don't even make sense together, but
Yeah,
they did
I think that's the first time that those words have been said together.
it.
But yeah, no, it's very strange, and it is what it is.
I do as much shit as Vin Diesel gets because he's a weird guy and he makes these very debatable, quality movies. I guess I do like that he seems to be a nerd in the sense that he has a passion for video games. So if you think back to, there was that Pitch Black or game based on that franchise.
The Riddick games.
The Riddick games, yeah. There's Escape from Butcher Bay is like a very like kind of a sleeper hit for Xbox.
Yeah,
that was a dope game. I know he started his own studio. I don't know if any games came out of it, but stuff like this, he's in this game. He seems to have an interest in it, and I guess I'll give him some points for that. But it's just a very strange choice. But hey, if it gets more people playing it, I guess that's good.
Yeah, I mean, people are going to play it, but I'm not.
Yeah, most likely I'm not as well. Now this they announced a new Smash character, which I didn't expect to see, but I guess they are putting out new characters. So Sephiroth from Final Fantasy is now in Smash. How'd you feel about that reveal?
Yeah, that's it's cool. I think it would have been nice to have someone from a different series, because I know that Final Fantasy's already been included in Smash.
It's possible. I'm not sure.
I think Cloud might have been in one of them or something. So, I mean, I mean, again, Smash is something that I'm not massively into, so it doesn't bother me. But I mean, Sephiroth's an awesome character, and I'm sure there's lots of nerds that will be very happy with that.
Yes, I have seen people keep doing screenshots of, there's that moment where Sephiroth in the trailer looks like he speared Mario, but it's like he's hanging on his trousers or whatever, and it's just like that moment is burning people's brains. Him killing Mario seemingly.
It's fun. It's a lot of fun to look at, but yeah, no, it's cool. I know that there's always massive things around new Smash character reveals, so it's obviously big news, and Sephiroth's a big character.
Yep, yeah, it's a good get for them over there. This one was one of my predictions that I wrote down. This is the only one that I was able to nail. But Gone Home, they showed off their second game, Tacoma, at maybe like 2 Game Awards ago, and they actually announced their next game called Open Roads, with some footage they showed off. And now that I think about it, I want to say this was possibly in game or more of a concept. But how did you feel? Are you a fan of the Fulbright games? What'd you think?
Yeah, I really liked Gone Home. I didn't play Tacoma. I'm not normally a fan of these kinds of games, but I mean, they've got some good credentials there, and they're obviously very capable narrative sort of game makers, and there's every reason to be excited for it.
Yeah, this one, what caught me off guard, or what I really dug, was they have this like 3D environment, but then the character looks cartoony and kind of slowly animated, which I really love, that duality of that happening at the same time. There's this, I was thinking of this great YouTube channel that just plays music through it, but it's called Chilled Cow. And it's just constantly, it's almost like a radio station. It's always playing these like chilled hip hop beats. And it's the same art style where there's like a 3D world, but the character is kind of animated in this like Studio Ghibli kind of style, cartoony style. So if they're able to, implement that same style, I'm on board. And I'm the same, where I loved Gone Home and didn't quite play Tacoma. There just wasn't something there to pull me into it, but I'm sure the story is dope. But just never, and I own it, I just never played it. But I think I'm more inclined to try this one out.
Yeah, it looks really nice. Like I said, the art style is really interesting, and I mean, when you see someone like this making a game, you know that it's going to have a stellar story, and normally they have not like huge twists, but a really clever little twist at the end or something to sort of make it all worthwhile as well, which is always a good thing.
Yeah, the next one we got here was A Way Out. Developer Hazelight showed off its new co-op game titled It Takes Two. I don't know if you played games from this dev before, but the A Way Out I played with my buddy Gavin, and it's really co-op focused. So was I want to say Two Brothers was his last game, and they're really unique with how they focus on co-op gameplay throughout the entire game. and we got to see a trailer for this next one here, and I loved it. Just seeing this footage, the way it's like a Pixar movie, the how the the art style is, but also the writing. I'm really, this is probably my favorite thing that I saw at the Game Awards.
Yeah, I'm the same. I was really, really pleasantly surprised by it. I don't really like A Way Out very much. I didn't think it was very. I think it was more a game that focused on what it was trying to be rather than actually making something interesting and enjoyable. I didn't think it was very good at all. But this looks great. It looks like so much more fun, so much more engaging, a lot more to do. There's so many different camera angles, and it looks like they've actually focused on making a really fun game rather than that can be played in co-op, rather than making a co-op game first
Sure.
and then going from there. So yeah, I think this is just an example of a team just getting better and better and improving on their previous projects and taking things on board. And it's a big change of art direction, and I think it looks really good.
Yeah, I'm excited for this. So we also got some announcements here. So there was a new Among Us map, Whippity Doo. That was cool. Although they did add Jeff Keighley's mask, like his face, to one of the characters, which was pretty interesting. And then we got Master Chief in Fortnite. I know that was kind of rumored for a little while. People were imagining that was a possibility. He's in there. That's awesome. I think they're reenacting or somehow adding the Blood Gulch map to Fortnite in some way. Then we got Striking Distance Studio. So this is a newly formed studio. It's from ex Call of Duty and Dead Space devs. And there's this well-known game director who worked on, is kind of the head director for Dead Space. He's controlling this team. So they announced the Callisto Protocol. This is one of the names where I'm like, okay, change that, make it easy, because I don't know, how that's going to fare when it's on display at Walmart or whatever. But it's a horror-themed sci-fi third-person action game, and it's set up as a spiritual successor to Dead Space. Man, I cannot wait for some actual gameplay, something about this game, because this is awesome.
Yeah. I mean, Glenn Schofield, the guy who's heading it, he is an amazing sort of game creator. Really, really impressive guy. See, like in all of his, there's so many sort of interviews with him on YouTube and lots of documentaries with him as well about Dead Space and his career. And he's just a super intelligent guy, and everything he's worked on has been brilliant. I mean, save maybe. I mean, I'm saying brilliant for like Call of Duty and things, even though I haven't played them. But the Call of Duty is Call of Duty, isn't it? This is very, very exciting. He seems like a guy who really knows his games, really understands what makes people enjoy games, and I think this is a really, really big one to look out for.
Are you bummed out at all that there couldn't been some kind of deal with this team, and I want to say it's EA that owns the Dead Space franchise, getting them back to that and actually using that world as the inspiration to go forward? Or do you like that they now have this completely new world that they can decide absolutely what they want to go with it?
Yeah, I it's a shame, and I think the only thing that puts me off this game is that it's apparently set in the same universe as PUBG, which is
is it?
Yeah, which is kind of weird, but it does look good. I mean, as I say, it looks good. It looks great, but yeah, like you said, it's still a shame. Every time you think of Glenn Schofield, you always think about Dead Space and how it was so tragically destroyed by EA. But it's still, the IP still exists. It's still hopefully there for somebody to pick up eventually, and even if that's a remaster of the trilogy or at least the first two, then that would be fine. But yeah, it's a shame that we're not getting a direct Dead Space related thing, but I'll take what I can get.
Yeah, same. And this does give me hope, or it makes me super interested in the fact that this game director has spent a lot of time, years with the Call of Duty franchise, taking some of those mechanics over to this and really making that gunplay just really entertaining, really fun, but then also that the credentials of building Dead Space, on top of that as well, make me super excited for going through this world and playing it. I don't think they announced it's not first, it's third person, but just adding that fun core gameplay of the the gunplay rather into something like this I'm super stoked. And yeah, we can't get into Dead Space, but if we can get everyone basically on board from building it, over here, then that's awesome. I cannot wait.
Yeah, and I think with someone again like Glenn Schofield, I think for him when he's working a game like Dead Space that he mostly conceptualized himself and had a lot of the main ideas for the game, which all worked so well. I think when you then go to someone like Sledgehammer and make Call of Duty games, I think your decisions probably have a lot less weight over them because I mean these are huge games, huge teams. There'll be a lot of corporate things to satisfy, a lot of times where you'll have to concede your own ideas and take on other people. So I think the fact that he's being able to create his own thing from the ground up again, I think that's promising, and I think that we should expect something as impressive as Dead Space, not directly sort of compared necessarily, but something that's going to hit all those sort of heights again.
I agree. Now this one is another spiritual successor. This is Left 4 Dead studio Turtle Rock also revealed a spiritual successor to Left 4 Dead with Back 4 Blood. The game features four players teaming up to fight off waves of zombies. I always loved, or rather, I dug from the side that franchise, the Left 4 Dead series, but never really fully got into them. But I know people have been hungry for them to just reboot it, do something else, do a sequel. So now it seems like this is the next closest thing that fans are getting. How did you feel about this?
Yeah, I think it looks really good. I mean, it literally just looks like Left 4 Dead with a lot more, modern things. I think the main difference is because it's not on that Valve Source engine, or it doesn't seem to be. Things like aiming down sights now and a bit of a slower movement kind of thing. I think it definitely looks unique in its own way, but yeah, you can't deny that it is basically Left 4 Dead.
Right. Even down to how they decided to name it. And I think they knew what they're doing. They're trying to get those fans back on and show them like, hey, this is us creating this. And if you love Left 4 Dead, you're going to love this. It looks cool. There's a bunch of enemies. As long as they nail the gameplay aspects of it and the various types of boss-like enemies that they have. And it seems like they're showing that off quite well. The engine looks good. I'm excited. I don't know if I'll play this, but I think fans are going to love this.
Yeah, for sure. Left 4 Dead still. I still play Left 4 Dead 2 every now and then on my computer, and it's still got a huge community. So yeah, this is going to be lapped up, I imagine, because I can't really see, same creators, just newer shine. I can't see why this wouldn't just replace Left 4 Dead for a lot of people. So I think it's going to instantly have a community, and I can imagine it doing very well.
Oh yeah, same here. So that was a lot of the big announcements. Before we get into some of the awards, let's talk about what we didn't see. I was expecting some God of War reveal and news. We didn't get anything. This game is still slated for 2021. Do you think it's just Sony's waiting to have their own event, which they show it off, but they have to start to get the campaign, like the advertising campaign and the pre-orders, all that stuff rolling. So were you bummed at all or surprised we didn't see anything?
Yeah, I thought we would see something. I also thought we'd see something Last of Us related, whether that was a remaster or a upgrade for the second one or multiplayer. I was very surprised. But this is one of those things where you can expect something, be disappointed it doesn't happen, but then a week later it can be shown off.
Right.
And as we saw with the PS5, as soon as something is shown off, everything is forgiven. Everyone was very irate about PlayStation not showing off anything, saying how they've messed everything up, they've ruined it all. And then as soon as they show it off, everyone just completely forgives that, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it looks amazing." So it's definitely short-term disappointing, but I'm sure we'll see some of it very soon. Especially considering it still says it's coming out in 2021, and I'm pretty sure that release date was announced during all this pandemic stuff as well. So it's not like they announced it and then the pandemic happened. I'm pretty sure this was announced, and as soon as it was announced, everyone was like, yeah, nah, that's not happening.
No, yeah, you're right. They had one of their last, maybe it was one of the last PS5 events. It was a digital event where they showed off that logo at the end. So they looks like on paper, they're getting ready to release 2021. So I wonder if we'll see PlayStation early in the year, next year, announce some kind of event. Like, here's what 2021 looks like, because they haven't really given us more info on Gran Turismo, which is rumored, or they set a date recently for 2021. I don't think we're seeing Horizon this year, but or next year rather. But as they start to build, and then Ratchet and Clank too. So as they start to build 2021, they got to have an event showing stuff off. I think we will get that announced very soon.
Yeah, I mean, I quite like it when there's not many games coming out, because I have just infinite games to play at all times, and the longer I have to play through them, the better.
Very true. And I just think of it as like shareholder, stockholder stuff where they kind of have to outline their year and then get the promos and the advertisements going, and give, I guess, anybody on the outskirts who still don't have a PS5 or don't want a PS5, convince them like, here's what we have coming up, that kind of stuff. Trailers they can show during, whatever sports games. But yeah, I think they should start setting up their 2021 very soon. As far as the awards we got, so the first one here, Last of Us 2 sweeped up a bunch of them, and I expected them to gain a lot. They got quite a bit of them. So just going down, we got Game of the Year, Best Direction, Best Narrative, Audio Design, Best Performance was Lara Bailey playing Abby in Last of Us 2, Innovation and Accessibility, and then Best Action/Adventure Game. How did you feel about them sweeping the Game Awards?
Yeah, to be expected. I don't necessarily agree with all the awards, but I can see why it won them. I mean, it was a very special game and a lot of people loved it. I think the main contention point for a lot of people, well, the more sort of, calmer people that didn't sort of lose their minds over it, was that because of how divisive it was, it probably shouldn't have won Game of the Year. But I think even if it was divisive, the amount of people that loved it just sheerly because the amount of people that play it is probably still more than all the other games. So I mean, it's completely understandable. I don't know why people even care that a game that they didn't personally like won these awards, but right. But yeah, it's I think we said before it's probably going to clean up, and it did, and but it was good to see the other games that won certain awards as well, and I was glad to see Final Fantasy VII win. I think it won 2 awards maybe,
I have them down for Best RPG. It's possible they got another one too.
I think it got Best Soundtrack, which gotcha. For me was one that they had to win that because the soundtrack was just excellent. But nice. So it was nice to see that pick up a couple, because that was my Game of the Year. And but yeah, I don't know whether I mean, arguably I'd have liked to have seen Assassin's Creed even be in anything there, because I'm really enjoying it that much. But then again, when compared with these other games, it's hard to argue a case for it.
Well, there's games that they kind of get caught in the wrong time, where if you release very close to the end, you're just kind of cut off from all the voting and stuff. So it was the same with, you didn't see the last Star Wars game pop up on here, which was like late in the year last year. But that single player Star Wars game, that was nowhere to be found because it just released right at the end, even though so it would have been eligible for 2020, but it just got swept up by all these huge games. So yeah, I think it's maybe we see Assassin's Creed next year, but there's a lot of big games that have come out that are coming out, so we'll see if it gets lost in the in the shuffle.
I don't think we'll see Cyberpunk next year either.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a little known indie game called Cyberpunk. So going through some of the other ones, so Art Direction was Ghost of Tsushima, which I think they absolutely earned. I would have liked to see a bit more awards on the Ghost of Tsushima side, but they did win Player's Voice, which was voted by fans. That was good. We got Games for excuse me, Games for Impact is Tell Me Why. We have Best Ongoing Game No Man's Sky, which is awesome to see. Best Indie Game is Hades. I know that's been really loved in like top of the year conversations everywhere. We got Best VR/AR Game was Half-Life Alyx, which I wanted that for Game of the Year, but it's already done. Best Action Game was Hades, and then we got Best RPG FF7 Remake. I guess overall the awards, anything that we talked a little bit about, what you wanted to see on there, anything that was you thought didn't deserve it or you would have wanted to see on there.
I would have liked to have seen Wasteland 3
right
on there. I think it might have been up for some things, but Wasteland 3 just hasn't been talked about enough for me. I mean, I know it got great praise when it first came out, but I mean, that game is honestly like one of the top RPGs I've played in a long time. So it's a shame to not see that get a bit more attention. It was nice to see No Man's Sky win something. There's quite a nice story there, but I don't know whether that award's been made for it.
True.
But no, it's hard for me to argue anything because these games have won these awards for a reason, and if I don't agree with them, then that's fine. That just means I'm obviously or clearly in the minority of people, or whatever. It's I like the Game Awards for what they reveal, and I like seeing what games win what, just from a more like lore perspective, I suppose, like lore on video games. Yeah, I'd like to have seen Final Fantasy VII win Game of the Year, but I don't care at all that it didn't either.
Yeah, no, I hear you. It's really, these are picks that are, out of our control. We all have our own personal, views on what we think would have won. And they're voted on by various industry people in that loop, from outlets, like the huge ones, GameStop, IGN, all that stuff, or GameSpot rather. But yeah, so it's that whole, core that's voting on this. But then they have that Player's Voice Award to throw throw people a couple bones in there. I know Steam has their own awards as well. I know I voted on there. I'm not sure when they revealed that, but Steam has like a just fully player voiced option to vote on 2020 games.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of awards. I mean, same with movies. When you get the Golden Joysticks, I mean, even and the BAFTAs as well.
Yep.
I mean, there's lots of lots and lots of different award shows where different games are going to win different awards, but that just shows how split people's opinions are. The fact that different games win Game of the Year at different awards just shows that, and I think as always it brought out all the worst little gremlins to just come out and say absolutely ridiculous things, but. I mean, I just think there's just something exciting about the Game Awards, and same as like the Oscars and things. It's just nice to see all of these games looked back on in a retrospective and celebrated in their own way.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, it was a fun time watching that. I always love sitting down and getting some food and watching the Game Awards every year. So overall, it was a great showing, I thought. Callum, we got this next one here. It's been taken over the internet because it's huge. Cyberpunk finally launched this week, and there's been some drama as we'd expect. So I did have this thing to take you down the story lane here that I wrote just to kind of quantify what's been happening right now. So Cyberpunk 2077 on PS4 and Xbox One is in bad shape. The last gen base model consoles are struggling to keep Cyberpunk 2077 at a playable state. Players across the net are reporting frame rate drops in the lower teens on PS4 and Xbox One, along with textures that load in like molasses. Adding to that dumpster fire are constant bugs and game freezes, and you're leaving almost half the Cyberpunk players feeling like they've received an incomplete experience. The PC version does contain glitches, but seems by and far the most optimized version of the game. Developer CDPR confirmed Cyberpunk earned at least 8 million pre-orders at launch, with 59% being PC and 41% on console. That means roughly 3 million console players are dealing with a borderline unplayable build of the game, assuming most of these console pre-orders are on last-gen hardware. The mid-tier refresh versions like the PS4 Pro are faring better and performing closer to 30 frames per second, while the current-gen PS5, Xbox Series X are able to hold steady at 60 frames without the full next-gen upgrade CDPR promise will hit sometime in 2021. Cyberpunk 2077 received high critical acclaim when reviews went live on Monday, but curiously enough, outlets were only given PC codes and could not use footage from their own playthroughs. Instead, reviewers could only use promo footage supplied by CDPR until later in the week when the full embargo was lifted. CDPR confirmed on Friday that revenue from digital pre-order sales alone exceeds all of Cyberpunk 2077's production costs and all of the company's marketing and promotional costs for the game this year. So it's a lot that happened to break down. It's been a rough launch for this game, really on console. When you've been seeing this stuff happen and unfold throughout the week, what have you been thinking?
I don't know. It's hard to stick up for CD Projekt Red, I think, especially when there is definitely a bias that people have towards them, whether that's because of The Witcher 3 or the hype that's surrounding this game, or even just the really close connection that a lot of game outlets have had with this game as well. Because even I know on PC it's supposed to run better, but I mean they released that requirements table that said how you'd be able to run it, and that is completely false. It's not at all true. and that came out only a few weeks ago, so not even long before the launch. They should know exactly how this game should run by then.
Right.
It just seems it just doesn't seem good enough for a game that's cost this much money to make, it's taken this long, and has been so poorly sort of not marketed but communicated with its fans as well. It's just not a good look at all, I don't think. And I think as well, coming out and saying that they've already made a profit is extremely bad taste, because all these people have paid for their game, and have paid for their game and allowed them to make a profit, and the game's completely broken, and it's
Right.
just not good. It's not a good thing at all. And I mean, I'm definitely going to end up getting it, but it's really just, it seems very devious. And going back to the outlets as well, games like Days Gone, for example, all the reviews would say things like, the game's really, really amazing. It's a great game, but it has some bugs, so they would mark it down to like 7 out of 10 or whatever, which is still a fine score. But then when you look at Cyberpunk, the reviews mostly center on the bugs, but it gets like a 90 out of 100 or whatever. And that's where I think there's this bias. And I think that bias exists everywhere. I think it exists in PlayStation games, but obviously not Days Gone. But I mean, games like Last of Us and Uncharted, I think these games will automatically get a bit of a buff to their scores just because of the context around them. And I think that's definitely happened here. And I think it's not acceptable. We shouldn't, fans shouldn't accept that kind of treatment. And I think the fact that PlayStation are actually issuing refunds for the first time for people who have bought the game is a huge tell for the state of it. And the fact that it was delayed for these consoles as well is even worse optics. I just don't think there's any way you can sympathize or dress it up. I think, it's a real bad, a poorly sort of planned out release, and they need to be a lot better in future.
You're 1,000% right. All the things you're nailing. And it's a huge bummer with the way that they rolled this thing out, showing off footage with their Night City Wire event. So they showed off console quote unquote footage, and it doesn't seem like, it seems like they purposely showed these moments where the game was running well enough to show off. But they have all these pre-orders locked in for a console version that just doesn't work. And it's pretty gross for them to advertise it that way. Now, I think it's important to criticize Cyberpunk CDPR, but I want to say it's at the highest level. It's their executives, it's stockholders making these decisions to go, I don't care, put it out. We hit this date. We can't. We want to hit 2020 release date. But the people that work there just want to do good. They just want to provide a good game, like make a good game. So I feel for them, like being caught in the crosshairs, knowing this game is not ready and having to put this thing out. It's the company as a whole that needs to be held accountable for all this stuff, because they promised a game, secured all these pre-orders, and that is not the game that console players are getting. It's really gross. And then it's going back to some of the reviews. There's this whole big drama with GameSpot, because their review came out and it was a 7 out of 10, which is still a good score. It's actually categorized as good.
Yeah.
And the reviewer, Kaylee Plog, I want to say her name is, received all these like death threats and all the standard like troll stuff that you get, saying she didn't even play the game. And then people get in their hands and they're like, oh yeah, I guess it is, around a 7 out of 10. It's got all these issues. And it's just with that drama. And then there's another well-known Twitter user person in the industry that had just referenced the fact that, hey, there's a lot of these epileptic like seizure moments, and there's not really a warning in the beginning of the game. Like, hey, maybe people should just realize that going in. And then she even got death threats. And then someone found her mom's Facebook page and was like telling the mom stuff about her, like that she needs to, kill herself and all this crazy things, just for bringing up the fact that, hey, some people are going to have issues when this game comes out. Heads up. And then eventually CDPR added that message there in the beginning of the game. There's a lot of grossness, and it's just, does it bring all the trolls out of the woodwork? Is it this game in particular that does that? I wonder.
I just don't know. And I mean, just quickly touching the epilepsy thing as well, is another massive miss from the developers. And it's, I mean, I think the death threats and everything is is just ridiculous. And it just seems to be now that, things like Twitter have just gotten so big that everybody can have an anonymous alternate account to do all these things. And it's just disgusting. It just shows you about people and how horrible they can be. And I don't really know what we can do about it, but yeah, I think if this, I'm just hoping that, when the Metascore finally comes out on PS4, and I don't even know why it hasn't yet, but it has to be something really low, because this, just watching the footage on PS4, it just looks completely unacceptable. And I mean that I'm not the big, I really like CD Projekt Red, and but that I'm not one of these people that loved the Witcher games, and I've played them, and I just think that also this game, I think maybe they believed their own hype, and they thought that they could just build this absolutely huge game, and they clearly couldn't, and they've shot themselves in the foot. And apparently it's good on PC, but it's still meant to be full of bugs on PC as well, and a bit under the weather. So yeah, I don't know. It's a frustrating situation for people like us who aren't biased towards anything about it, and just wanted there to be a great RPG coming out. And there's no reason not to think it was going to be anything but great with the way they marketed it. And I think that just makes it all the worse when it comes out on PS4 and looks like bloody GTA Vice City.
Yeah. No, there were intentional gross decisions made to market this game the way they did, and I'm not sure at what point that or where in the ladder that decision was made, but yeah, they did promise a game on console, and it is not hitting that mark. So I'm playing on PC. I'm playing the game now on PC.
Oh, nice.
And I have a pretty beefy machine, so it runs good. Mm-hmm. But even with that, there are countless bugs that you just have to kind of brush aside. There's tons of bugs. This game, as I'm playing it, it's obvious it wasn't ready. I think you would have had to keep it baking in the oven till at least spring 2021, at the very least. I think, of course, we're in the present now. We can't go back, but the move should have been 2 years ago when they had their first Night City Wire event showing off the gameplay. They should have said, we're targeting console, but this game is coming out to PC first. If they did that before they started securing all those pre-orders, it would have helped a little bit, telling people like, hey, the console version is coming, but it's, 5 months, whatever. We're going to secure that PC version of it, get it bug-free, get it ready to go. Do that before you promise console players that you're going to get a very similar experience on console. Of course, you can't do that now, and you have all those pre-orders made and it's done. But then you're right, where it was extra gross again for them to announce like they made all of the production costs back in the first day. But it's based on those empty promises that they secured when they showed this game off for the first time. So it's just a bummer, man. Like I like this game. It's cool so far, but I'm definitely seeing how it's not the second coming. It's definitely deserving of some kind of like 7-ish out of 10 kind of perspective, because it just needed more time. But for whatever reason, they weren't allowed any more time to work on this.
Yeah, and I haven't even seen the people who are playing it now on PC. I haven't even seen anybody come out and say, bugs aside, this game's like incredible. Like, it just sounds like it's an RPG, and
right.
I've heard it's a bit more GTA than like an actual RPG. It's a lot more sort of reactive, and there's a lot more downtime than sort of like maybe The Witcher 3, which is very combat focused. So I don't know. It's a shame, and I think it'll be a massive lesson for CD Projekt Red. And I just wish that companies would start respecting the people who give them money more, because it's just ridiculous now, and it's so transparent who they're really making these games for. And it's not the players who they're making them for. They're making it for the shareholders who, finance these projects and things. And you look at Hades, an indie game, just won Best Action Game of the Year. That's a game made to be fun for the players. And Cyberpunk isn't. It's a game to make lots of money. And they just bit off more than they can chew, I think.
Yeah, it's a bunch of stuff at once, where you're right, where they are making this game for shareholders, or at least they're hitting these bullet points that the shareholders want to be done. It's frustrating because they needed more time. Although it's I mentioned before, it's like all these things at once where, okay, you can say give them more time, but then that just means that team has to keep crunching, another 6 months or whatever. So there's almost no relief in any direction you want to go with like choosing how to launch this game, unless you change at the core level, like what they just how they handle their team and how they handle development. You
Yeah.
can't just say just give more time, because then people are just going to keep crunching on this thing. It needed more time to bake. There is a lot of it reminds me a lot of Fallout as I'm playing the game. It does a lot of the Fallout kind of style with how you traverse, but not to that degree, not to that success of Fallout with the way the story unfolds and the choices you have. And I'm not crapping on the game so far. Like it's still fun. It's a really good game, but whether it's our own hype or we believe their hype, but it was kind of put on this pedestal of this game that maybe never will come out, but also it's like it's trying to achieve these things that have never been done before. But it's very much just it's a game. It's a good game.
Yeah, and I think that's an even bigger blow when it is just good. Like it's not
right.
It's not this spectacular experience. It like and that's not. And I'm not saying it's good because the bugs make it worse, but you know I've had a lot of people say, aside from the bugs, not even including the bugs, the game is fine. Like it's a good game. And that's even worse. The fact that even when you don't mention the bugs, the game itself is still, you know, I mean, again, I'm still yet to play it. I might think differently when I play it, but from what I've heard, it's just a good open world game. And it's just, I just wish people would be more transparent and with the players, and not, you know, play everyone for a fool just to fill shareholders' pockets and everything like that. So, but and going back to, you know, what they could have done, I think in the first place they need to have good producers to plan this thing and not make sure it's not too overly ambitious to the point where it's going to disappoint players and make people crunch. You know, just don't make the game that much bigger. Don't try and include all of these crazy things. Just make a good game. I don't know why games have to be these huge things. I mean, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, for example, it's going to take me about probably 80-90 hours to beat, the same amount of time as Assassin's Creed Odyssey, but Valhalla is so much smaller and more focused and concise, and it's so much a better game because of it. Whereas, you know, and Cyberpunk, maybe if they didn't spend so much time making sure you can give your character a big dick or whatever, like there's just so many things that they could have spent their time better doing. Right. It's always down to, like you said, the executives and the producers and the people who have to make sure this thing comes out on time and it works and that they're fulfilling, you know, what the players want, because at the end of the day, it's the players that are keeping them in business, and it's the players that they need to make the games for, and not a way to rub their own egos maybe and sort of be in history of making the biggest RPG ever. It's not about that. It's about making games that people enjoy playing, and that seems to have been lost, like you said, somewhere in the higher up bits, because I'm sure there's, you know, hundreds of developers and writers and artists who have worked their absolute arses off on this game, and I'm sure their work is absolutely fantastic, but it's hard when it's not put together properly or obviously strewn with bugs. So you've got to feel sorry for them as well as the players.
Yeah, and it's I keep thinking of accountability with whoever higher up that's making these very poor decisions. I don't think we're going to see that, because as CDPR announced that they've made all their development costs back, I think that, you know, whoever is making those decisions is now rewarded because they made all their money. All that investment is now recouped. So why change anything? Because you know, it's been a success. So I don't think we'll see any accountability, no changing of, you know, various people at the top. It's just going to be the same situation rolling forward. So I don't think we're going to get, they very much have achieved the whole like corpo thing in Cyberpunk. They've achieved that within the way the studio is set up. So at least at the higher up. So they're kind of imitating their own art by having these very gross, you know, decisions being made.
And it's like No Man's Sky, which obviously we just saw won an award for best ongoing game. When that first came out, it got absolutely ridiculed because it was touted as this thing, which it wasn't. It was never the thing it thought it was. It was never this massive online game with infinite planets and all these things to do. It was never that. And it might be now, but because it wasn't that, it rightfully got a lot of, not abuse, but a lot of criticism. I mean, I'm sure there was abuse, like we were saying, there always is, but it got a lot of criticism. And I just worry that Cyberpunk won't get that criticism from the places where it matters. Because nobody listens to your common gamer. They listen to the big outlets that are affiliated with these games or whatever. And I just hope that and PlayStation offering refunds is a good start, but I just hope that the scope of this game will at least bleed into the industry enough to change things, because it's just getting ridiculous now.
Yeah, you mentioned PlayStation giving refunds. That was announced recently. That's no joke. They don't do that really very much ever. I think the last time was with The Last of Us 2, just because the game was pushed to that indefinite time where we weren't sure when it was going to launch. But they do not do that, so it's not good. They've actually produced a unplayable game on the marketplace, so that speaks volumes there. I mean, we'll keep following this as it unfolds. We'll see if these updates fix it. How CDPR responds, or they just go on vacation and say, sorry, see you later, and they just go and count their money. I don't know. But it's just been a very messy launch for this game that a lot of people were excited about. So we will move on to the next one here. Callum, I need some information on what's happening in your backyard. It's getting pretty wild out there. It looks like you have Cyberpunk in your backyard right now. This reference to this next story here. Although something might be happening, you might be getting a PS5
I see.
stolen.
Sorry, I thought you meant my actual guy. It has just started raining, to be fair. So,
so we got PS5s reportedly being stolen straight out of delivery trucks by gangs. That might have been who drove by actually behind you.
Yeah.
So this is Cody Gravel of ScreenRant.com. A new report has indicated that PS5 theft continues to be an issue in the UK, with gangs now organizing operations that see them steal the console out of moving delivery trucks in a move similar to those seen in over-the-top heist films. The PS5 launch has been messy across the globe thanks to shortages in stock. They have seen plenty of disappointed consumers waiting for another chance to purchase a console, but things have been especially problematic in the UK. With new console pre-orders scarce and scalpers making a quick buck, things really began spiraling once deliveries went out, with some customers reporting they received completely different items than a PS5. Afterwards, it was revealed that some Amazon drivers were stealing PS5 consoles from customers, while it was also revealed that a UK-based scalper group had managed to acquire over 3,000 PS5s during pre-orders. Most recently, a UK trade-in retailer came under fire for marking up PS5 consoles by double their MSRP. Now, a new report from The Times has revealed that PS5 theft continues to be an issue, and thieves are getting more creative too. The report details the rollover technique being used by gangs to secure PS5 consoles illegally, which involves using cars to pen in delivery trucks as they're driving and then having one of the criminals scale their own vehicle before breaking into the moving truck, stealing what's inside. Callum, are you a part of this? Do we need to send the troops over there to help you guys out? What's going on?
I honestly hadn't even heard of this, but it's pretty cool for people to scale their own vehicle. I mean, as long as no one's getting hurt. I think this happens with anything of high value, doesn't it? I mean,
right.
I remember I watched a documentary, it's going to sound really stupid, on avocados in, I think, maybe Peru or Chile or something.
Yeah.
And because obviously all of us white people seem to love avocados.
Avocado toast is huge. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the industry is massive. So people rob, trucks of avocados in Chile and things like that. And it's not good, but theft exists and criminal gangs exist. And but if they're going to scale their own vehicle, that's I think they deserve a PS5. To be honest, that's pretty epic.
Yeah, it's like a Fast and Furious movie for them to just scoot up right next to a moving Amazon truck and somehow throw locks on it and secure it over. But it's going down over there. I don't know what's happening. You guys are going nuts in lockdown, but
if they don't want this to happen, then try not only giving PS5s to about 5 retailers and not having anything in place for people to buy them, and then maybe you won't get robbed.
Yep, that's fair. That's a fair statement. I just saw this online. I thought this is pretty nuts that they're doing this.
Yeah, it's not me, even though I did get my PS5 on a Sunday when things don't normally get delivered. But it's not me.
Look into it. That's all I'm saying. Somebody look into it. All right, Callum. Yeah, we'll end it there. That's it for us this week. Where can they find you online?
Twitter at Bear Munro, and I'm just posting lots of Assassin's Creed Valhalla screenshots at the moment, mostly of me splitting heads with axes and things like that.
Nice. Awesome. And you can keep up with the show as well on Twitter at Plastic Art Pod. That's it for us this week. We'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.
See you later.
You're too late. I've already summoned Meteor. Okay, let's go.